This story is titled, My Husband Tried to Force Me to Be a Stay-at-Home Wife While He Spent My Inheritance, so I divorced him and took everything. Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm 32 years old and I live in Denver, Colorado. For most of my life, I believed in love, the kind of love where two people support each other, grow together, and build a life based on mutual respect. But my marriage, it turned into a nightmare I never saw coming. I thought I had married a man who respected me. I thought we were equals, but I was so wrong. Because the moment my inheritance came into play, my husband, Jake, saw it as an opportunity, not for us, but for himself. He tried to manipulate me, control me, and turn me into someone I never wanted to be. But what he didn't realize was that I wasn't the kind of woman who could be controlled. And in the end, I didn't just leave him. I took everything. Let me tell you how it all happened. When I first met Jake, he was charming, funny, and had this way of making me feel like I was the most important person in the world. We met at a mutual friends party, and from that moment on, we were inseparable. At the time, I had a stable career as a marketing consultant, and Jake worked in finance. He always talked about big dreams, how we were going to be successful together, and how we'd build an incredible life side by side. I believed him. We got married after 2 years of dating, and for the first few years things were good. But then, everything changed. My parents had always been smart with their money, and when they passed away, they left me a substantial inheritance. It wasn't buy a private island kind of money, but it was enough to provide security for my future. At first, Jake was supportive, or at least, that's what I thought. He told me I deserved it, that my parents had worked hard for me to have a better life. But looking back, that's when the manipulation started. It was small things at first. Casual comments like, "You don't really need to work anymore, babe." Or wouldn't it be nice to just relax and enjoy life? Then, the comments became more persistent. "Sarah, why are you still stressing over deadlines? We have enough money. Just quit." I remember laughing it off at first. I liked working. I was good at my job. And besides, my inheritance wasn't meant to be spent carelessly. It was for security, for investments, for the future. But Jake, he had other plans. One day, he sat me down with this serious look on his face. "Sarah, I've been thinking, I don't want you to work anymore." I raised an eyebrow. "Jake, we've talked about this. I like my job." He sighed, as if he was tired of explaining something so simple. "But you don't need to work. We have enough money. And honestly, I think it's time we start thinking about a family. You'd be a great stay-at-home wife." That's when I realized what he was really saying. He didn't want me to have a career. He wanted me to be dependent on him. He wanted control. And I wasn't about to give it to him. But at the time, I still believed he had good intentions. I told myself that he just wanted what was best for us, that maybe he was feeling the pressure of being a provider. So I compromised. I told him I'd cut back my hours, but that I wasn't quitting entirely. He wasn't happy about it, but he pretended to accept it. Until the day I found out what he was really doing with my money. And that was the moment everything changed. One afternoon, I was going over my bank statements, just a routine check to make sure everything was in order. But as I scrolled through the transactions, something felt off. There were withdrawals I didn't recognize. Large ones. 5,000 here, 8,000 there. A $12,000 charge for what looked like a luxury watch. My stomach dropped. I immediately checked the account linked to my inheritance, the one I had been so careful with, the one meant for my future security. And just like that, I saw the truth. Over the past 6 months, Jake had been slowly draining my funds. Tens of thousands of dollars, gone. I felt sick. I confronted him that night. "Jake, where is the money?" He didn't even pretend to be surprised. Instead, he had the audacity to roll his eyes. "Oh, come on, Sarah, it's not a big deal. We're married. What's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "That money was for our future. You didn't even ask me. What did you spend it on?" He waved a hand, completely dismissing my anger. "Investments, experiences, things for us. You worry too much. You need to loosen up." Loosen up? This wasn't some small mistake. This was theft. And the worst part, he felt entitled to it. That's when everything became crystal clear. Jake never wanted me to quit my job because he cared about me. He wanted me to quit because he needed control. If I had no job, no financial independence, and no way to support myself, I'd be completely reliant on him. And he could do whatever he wanted. I had been so blind. But that night, I woke up. I decided I wasn't just going to leave him. I was going to make him regret ever thinking he could take advantage of me. And oh, he had no idea what was coming. I didn't say anything else that night. I just nodded, pretending to drop the argument. But inside, I was done. Jake had made a huge mistake. He thought he had control over me, thought he had backed me into a corner where I had no choice but to rely on him. But what he didn't know, I had a plan. The next day, I started gathering evidence. I went through every bank statement, every withdrawal, every unauthorized expense. I printed everything out, highlighting the thousands of dollars he had stolen from me. Then I contacted a divorce attorney. I explained everything. How he had pressured me to quit my job, how he had manipulated me into dependence, and worst of all, how he had been spending my inheritance behind my back. The lawyer listened carefully, and when I was done, she smiled. You have a strong case. Since the inheritance was left to you personally, he has no legal claim to it. If we play this right, you'll get back everything he took, and more. That was all I needed to hear. For the next month, I kept playing the perfect wife. I didn't let on that anything had changed. If Jake noticed that I was suddenly agreeing with his ridiculous ideas or acting more submissive, he didn't question it, because he thought he had won. Oh, how wrong he was. The moment everything was in place, I made my move. One Friday afternoon, while Jake was out with his friends, probably bragging about how he had trapped me into a stay-at-home lifestyle, I had movers come and take everything that was mine. I transferred what was left of my inheritance into a separate account. I filed for divorce, and by the time he got home that evening, I was gone. Not just gone, untouchable. When he walked into the house and found half the furniture missing and divorce papers waiting for him on the counter, I can only imagine the look on his face. Because the moment he saw them, he knew. He had lost. And I had won. Jake called me over and over, but I didn't pick up. Then came the texts. Sarah, what the hell is this? You can't just leave. Come home and let's talk like adults. You're being dramatic. This is ridiculous. I didn't reply. By Monday, he had been served. That's when the messages changed. Are you seriously divorcing me over money? I was investing for us. You're overreacting. We're married. This is what marriage is. You're making a mistake. But I wasn't. The real mistake? Marrying him in the first place. The divorce process was messy, mostly because Jake fought tooth and nail to keep what he had stolen from me. But the law was on my side. Since the inheritance was left to me personally, and since I had clear evidence of him spending it without my consent, he was forced to pay back every penny. The luxury watch? Sold. The investments he made? Liquidated. And on top of that, my lawyer made sure I got a settlement, enough to cover the damage and secure my future. By the end of it, Jake was broke, and I was free. I went back to work, built my life on my own terms, and never looked back. And Jake? Last I heard, he had moved back in with his parents, still bitter that his plan to control me had failed. I have no regrets. Because here's the truth. If someone tries to control you, manipulate you, or take advantage of you, they don't love you. They love what they can get from you. And the best thing you can do? Take your power back. So tell me, have you ever been in a situation like this? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Thanks for listening, and remember, never let anyone take what's yours.